I'm going to share 4 poems with y'all tonight, thinking about how, thinking about and reflecting what I think about when I think about being a better ancestor and being in relation. So we're jumping around a little bit, but this first poem is about research experience. I work with Maya mom women in Guatemala, and so it's thinking about our connections over food. And so it's called Movements I Remember. Our ancestors carved rhythmic, repetitious pathways, so I know some part of you remembers me being here. Pain and hope and the will to be well brought back through my hands, cupping these beans and harina de maíz recién molida, a truer maíz than I've ever known. Dando vueltas, pressing harina into water and cheng and sal, juntando todo, waiting for a lightness and a thickness and a sense of completeness, knowing in my body to be here with you. And still, machin chalseitchi, raised eyebrows and lilting laughs, wishing I was more familiar. I smile anyway as these gringas learn to amasar. These next 2 poems are, thank you. These next 2 poems are from a collection that I'm working on to honor my 2 madrinas, my godmothers, who were both passed away during the COVID pandemic, and thinking about their memory. So this one is called Long Way Back to Palatka Lane, and it is in the collection today. So, 4-lane highway, 19 miles move slowly. Meditate on vines growing ragged over beige and red fading walls. Count each start and slow down. Feel inching closer. See cars swerve distractedly. Now we're approaching. Sway right to merge. Long, slow curve yielding to those already arrived. Keep driving. 2 more lights to pass. Notice street filled with idle cars and 1 stray cat. Approach a house, the usual gathering place. Leaves brush against patio floor, kicked up by soft breeze. Smoke wafts up lazily. Rocking chairs pulsing against ground fades. Step inside, a house too full of passing through. Lights on in the kitchen, stove still hot to the touch. Clasp hands around a mug, lukewarm coffee past ready to be sipped. Sit in kitchen, waiting to depart again. Sunset's early now. Chisme nudges chimes together. Smile past longing. And this next poem is called En la mesa con las tías, at the table with my aunts. Entering, I stumble onto that hazy light that lilts and wafts down from the plastic skylight etched in the roof. Onto the curved table, I trace the grain through memories, remembering. I see hands amasando maseca, sal, agua tibia into a plastic bowl too plain to be so sacred. And hands, those hands, curved fingernails, long, plump fingers with wrinkles threatening to break ground there. Hands, amasando so gently and firmly, a gentleness not born of hesitation, but contentment. Hands that I know better, handing me a plate, a bowl, an offering, than I know their touch. Feeling, it rests there on that horizon, the yellow, round table pushed up against white walls. It rests there, sedimented over and over. Crumbs of pan dulce, the brown sugar of churros, the coffee rings left after chisme y chistes, told and told and told. It rests there. I trace those grains that squiggle and circle on the wooden table. I try to catch the sunlight in my hand, hoping that it's really you. Close my eyes and hear your laughter. Sometimes quiet, hidden behind a quivering hand and shoulders that trace the octaves of your laugh, sometimes loud, spilling and rising from a mouth wide open, hands flailing and slapping that table, that sacred place. Hope and love and grief. Yes, every memory of your name, it rests there. And this last poem I actually wrote last December, trying to make sense of the lack of reaction, the lack of any change given the ongoing genocide in Gaza. And I haven't updated any of the numbers or anything since then, and so it's woefully wrong. And just a reminder of how much doesn't change in a year of non-action and how much does. So this last poem is dedicated to the people of Palestine, and it's titled Vigil. I wake to you. Through bright sunlight or gray skies, blurry and still, I wake to you, to news of you, to your voice calling out, and to those 25,000 tons of bombs that light up and light up and light up your skies, and the suffocating dust that buries your morning, and the darkness that envelops all of you, this silence. They do not see you, do not hear you, won't hold your voiceless voice, ragged, enraged, grief and pleas, asking to live. I've wanted to look away, to close my eyes, to scream and cry and feel hopeless, knowing hearts have been corroded, to even think to justify these deaths as just. You plead, telling them to focus on the children, some 8,000 children, and I can't block out their aunties, those holy hands that hold and guide you, and those friends sitting by the schoolyard, and those cousins sick with worry over aging grandparents, and lovers, confidants, and happiness over lifespans. And they say they're using more humane bombs. Humane, meaning showing or having compassion or kindness, meaning through rubble, ash, smoke, compassionate craters and scars dotting every mile of your land, strewn and tattered Gaza, barely breathing Gaza, land and air and all jagged language breaths taking in kindness in soot and smoke, and your screams, your cries, grief welling up, and the joy of reuniting after torture and shock. And I sit in bright buildings and normalcy, only wanting to cry again when I face you, scrolling here with a cup of coffee, complaining of the cold, while you flee, kicking dust and ash and relatives into the air with every desperate breath as you run out of space to run. And here they disown you, build a barrier to shut out your hearts and sorrow and say it is their right. But I sit here and reach out to hold you, to brush the soot from your cheeks and hold the mourners with you and reclaim this grief as ours, these murders as ours, this future as ours, until only sunlight is reflected in your eyes and the skies are only lit by hazy starlight and still clouds, and your voice rings out with lightness and liberation. Until then, I wake with you.